one job doesn't hardly cut it anymore.
No one's asking what we want, what information we need. There is no class in school for this.
Gen Z is the future home buyer, right? And even though it's a crazy market and there's affordability issues and 8% mortgage rates, what we're hearing is Gen Z, you're 25, right? They're still looking. They're still like trying to educate themselves, right? You guys are smart and you're trying to kind of figure it out. So I thought, okay, this would be cool for me to chat with you and and you can kind of share like where you're researching, how you're researching, kind of like your mindset. And so Kaylee, Romeo, my niece, so we're family. So this is what makes it fun. And well, you tell me, how old are you? Where do you live? Because market's always really important. Where do you want to live? All that fun stuff.
So I am 25 and I'll be 26 here soon. I live in San Diego, was actually born and raised in Chicago. So I am growing up with totally different set of standards than most of the people I grew up with that are my age. So all of my friends I'm watching are buying houses and are doing all of the things because they're in Chicago, they're in Illinois, they're in states that are a little bit more affordable to do so. So their renter, I guess, status or duration didn't take them nearly as long as it's taking me and Noah and my husband to essentially buy a house. We are renting currently in a suburb outside of San Diego and kind of in between Los Angeles called Temecula, or Menifee rather. And we moved from San Diego to Menifee just for the cost of rental housing too. Buying a house and renting a house here are expensive. But I sent you a message recently about something that astonished me, and it was that for the first time, buying a house is 52% more expensive than renting a home. And even that's insane when renting a home is $3,000 to $5,000 average.
Was that in San Diego or was that like nationally here?
This is nationally with the interest rates, which is insane. I mean, because we've considered many other states to live, you know, one of those states being Texas, because that's where my husband's originally from. And they have zero income tax, while the property tax is a little bit different there. It's, it kind of, you know, balances itself out, but you get a little bit more land.
Right. And that's the same. And like, okay, so that's, I feel like that's an important distinction too, because I've read a lot about like Gen Z, they're totally willing to move further away. They don't have to be like in near like bustling cities. They don't have to be in San Diego. They don't have to be in Denver, New York, right? Like San Francisco. So I was reading a headline, or an article like, oh, Gen Z is going to move. They're going to move to Idaho and the Dakotas and Minnesota. And like your friends are moving into suburbs in the Midwest, right?
The city of Chicago, you know, they've all got jobs in the city of Chicago, but they take the train in.
Okay.
And we both were fortunate enough to have work from home jobs. We own our own business. So we were able to move outside of those bustling cities. And I think that's why some are, and because of, you know, the economy is allowing us to do so, but also because it's just too expensive to live in those cities anymore.
Okay. So
like we had to give up a car when we did live in San Diego because it wasn't even the car that was expensive. It was the spot for our car in the city that was $300+ a month for an extra car.
Okay, that's so interesting. So, okay, so here's one thing that I'm like maybe a little bit of maybe not myth busting, but like I feel like there's always these like broad strokes around Gen Z. So I want to like ask a few questions about like some of the myths are okay, well Gen Z, well they're not worried about buying a house right now. Like some of the Gen Z are really young. Well, yeah, but the elder Gen Z like you, right? You got married, you want to have kids, like you want to buy a house. So like what is do you have a timeline? Like do you know I have a timeline? You're going to start researching and then you want to buy a house within this many years? Like what does that look like for you?
That's a great question. So we've kind of started what that looks like, and we did that before we were married. I'd say 2 years ago now. We were at a point where we were living with his family because we couldn't fathom just throwing away, you know, X amount of money on a house as a rental when we just didn't care about it, right? And so we said, all right, let's save, let's live with family in the time till we actually can find something that we'd like. But while we did that, we also considered, well, you know, we're first-time home buyers. We get benefits. There is discounts in mortgage rates and things like that. So we looked into what that looked like in Texas. And instead of going to homes that were already someone else's, essentially, or multiple people's over time, we looked at new builds.
New homes.
New builds were really something that was interesting to us because it wasn't just the cookie cutter house. I mean, it could be, but you could make it what you want. You could add the upgrades for the kitchen or the cabinets or the flooring. You could have the new thing now I've learned is the sliding doors that make your kitchen or your living room space into like an indoor outdoor living, which we loved. But we found that it was taking at least the specific builder and the site that we were interested in the land was 2 years for the lot and then another 2 years to build. And so the time, you know, we needed somewhere. We didn't want to live with family for the next 2 years. So we decided maybe it wasn't the right time for us to build because we didn't have the cash flow yet either, but we wanted to know what that looked like. So to answer your question, we are, I guess, actively considering what that looks like. Maybe have put it on pause a little bit right now with the way the interest rates look. But we are looking for houses. We're doing our research. Our research probably looks a little different than each other's.
Okay, so definitely want you to touch on that. So like where are you researching? Where are you researching, Kaylee? And then where's Noah researching, your husband?
So I am researching anywhere and everywhere. So a lot of it is just kind of passive research. If I'm being honest, it is me just doing the daily things that I do, but being in touch with the people that give me the information that I want to be in touch with. So one of the people that I'm following with, which I think you actually will be talking to a little bit later, is Randa Dehan. Randa is in the mortgage and real estate space. She's also my age, so I get a lot of my knowledge and information from her and her team. I believe she works at A&M Mortgage. So I receive a lot of my information just from following them on LinkedIn or on TikTok or Instagram, just short snippets. It's not that my attention spans short, right? It's that they're getting me the information that I need, when I need it, and that's all I'm needing. It's not information overload. It's just what I asked for, it, and that was it. And I think that's a lot of the problem with getting information to people in my age group is, yeah, we want the information now, but we don't want what we're asking for. We don't want everything.
Because because buying a home is overwhelming, right? Like it's the biggest purchase and there's a lot of information that goes along with it. So you're trying to kind of piece it together right now.
And we're trying to learn, because I think that's been the biggest flaw is there's no education about it, right? Like there's no formal education about buying a house, how to understand a mortgage, how to understand what taxes come into buying a house, closing, all of it. And so a lot of our process was literally just talking to so many different people and understanding all of the different perspectives, all of the things that are offered from the different builders.
So do you have a, like from, watching Randa, like the gal, do you know now, like your credit score, right? Like you have to have a certain credit score. You have to have a full-time job, like for a certain amount of years in order to get a loan. Like, do you know those things now, or are you still kind of getting up to date on that?
I'm still kind of learning, and I feel like they'll probably change over time too. I'm sure, mortgage rates change, so I'm sure like the qualifications will as well. Who knows what they'll be when I go to buy a home? But I have learned information through Randa and her team about first-time home buyer benefits and what those look like. I have learned that I don't need as large of a down payment since I haven't bought a home before from Randa. I've learned that our mortgage rates are 8% plus right now from Randa. And, I have learned a lot about the process of buying a home, that you need, a stable job. And most of the time, 2 years is the starting point. Right. And it's not just 2 years in the workforce, it's 2 years in the same place in the workforce.
Yeah.
And that's the tricky thing. I think that's where a lot of people have a hard time buying a home. That I've learned from experience is you've got great credit, you've got great work experience, but you're kind of a job hopper. And from what I've understood, that red flags on the other end of things.
I wonder, because I don't really know this, but Gen Z, like let me ask you instead of doing a broad stroke, right? Like what everyone else does. You and Noah like are starting your own business, which is super cool. Like, did you ever want to work for somebody else, or do you want to just do your own thing? Do you have a side hustle? Like, because I feel like Gen Z is going to make money in you make money in a different way. Like everyone's got this side hustle that they're doing from their bedroom. And how you have to figure out a way to save for a down payment, right? Like 20%.
One job doesn't hardly cut it anymore.
So like, can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what are you, or is
I'll talk to you about our current living situation. I guess why we have it that way, because we work from home.
Yeah.
And then some of the other things that you mentioned, but we currently are in a rental it's a flat and we love it. It's got 2 extra bedrooms in it, right? But they're offices. I'm in one of them currently. It's just a little barn door room. We love it. But it works perfectly from home. We own our own business. While I loved also working for other people, I enjoy working for myself more because it's really fueled by my goals, right? The end goal is what I want it to be because it's my company and it's Noah's company. So we can really work as hard or, as little as we want because it's dependent on what we want versus, a larger corporation's end goal. But, I will say I've worked for other companies before and I love doing that too. It just depends on who you work for and what you're doing. Previous job experience, I've been a recruiter, loved working for companies because there is some stability and some benefits that come with that. But ultimately, I like doing other things throughout the day too. Like not just sitting at my computer from 9 to 5 in my office. I like to cook. I have hobbies. I want to eventually, one of the things I want to do is build a cookbook and make it a digital product that I can sell. It doesn't have to be a legitimate cookbook that you can buy in a grocery store or Target. but that's a side hustle that I'm working towards, gathering just family recipes from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of those is, Noah and I both like to build websites, whether they're drop ship or just digital products as well. We like to experiment with that. And we're currently working on getting one live this weekend. So
That's
just
awesome.
having spaces to do those things in is it's amazing because I still have what looks like a nice home, but it's, some of the work environment is hidden because we don't leave. We work from, we do, but we work from
Yeah.
home. So
Yeah.
most of our time is spent here 9 to 5, and then it's spent here either on the weekends when we're not out doing something. So it's nice to have a little bit of separation and have an office space.
So are you currently saving for a down payment? Like, are you stashing money away?
Little by little.
Yeah.
Yes. I will say we're not doing like anything extremely proactive to
Okay.
get there. We just had our wedding. So some of the money that had gifted is going
Yeah.
towards that. We've lived together for 6 years. So we have more than enough decor and kitchen stuff and all of the things in between.
Yeah.
We did ask for some nice stuff here and there, but other than that, it was like
Well, part
it's
of
a
your
wedding fund for the
Yeah,
house.
I remember because I was at the wedding, and it was like, okay, either a honeymoon fund or a new home fund. And
Yeah.
that's the trend. I mean,
Oh yeah.
younger folks, it's like we don't need another fancy like serving dish. We
Yeah.
need money to buy a house or a
Yeah.
down payment or to like go on a honeymoon. So yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
What about, okay, so one of the things that I hear a lot is like, I mean, maybe it's older folks like advisors that are like, okay, if you need to save for a down payment, you need to knock off the Starbucks, right?
Mhm.
You can't be ordering avocado toast. You maybe need to get a second job. You need to be doing less shopping here and there, whatever. Like, what do you see as like an activity? Like, what do you think you would need to do in order to save for a down payment?
Stop DoorDash.
Okay. Those
It was a huge one. They are
Yeah.
high, but when you're a subscription member, they're not. But it's it's
Okay.
those recurring charges that come up. But DoorDash is a big one. It's the ease of it, but it is expensive. I did really get into a kick for a while with like the Amazon groceries. Loved that they came to my door. It was really easy to order. Um, I think a lot of the things that I can kick off to save are probably convenience things. Like you said, like Starbucks. We don't go to Starbucks nearly as much anymore. And one of the reasons why was because, yeah, it's expensive. But also we just realized that if you find a way to make things the way that you like them at home.
Okay.
So I found a really nice coffee machine that I love, and I'm not spending money on Starbucks as much. I was spending like $15 a month, even on like just the ground beans, or not even a month, a week. And it added up.
Yeah, no, I get it. It totally adds up. And by the way, case John, my husband forgets, I asked for an espresso machine for Christmas, so don't think about that.
Wink, wink, John.
Yeah, I'm gonna need one of those. I don't really go to Starbucks that often, but again, so you're like an elder Gen Z, like
Mhm.
elder, whatever. I'm an elder millennial. So I actually think that there is some overlap there, but in terms of like how we think about money, how I think about money versus how you think about money, how I think about real estate. Like for me personally, I still say no, but I still believe that owning a home is one of the best ways to like build generational wealth.
I absolutely agree with you there. And that's one
You,
thing that Noah and I, when we can absolutely afford to own our own home, that will be the next big purchase is another house.
okay, you want to like take the
Either
equity
rent it
from the
out long
house.
term or Airbnb it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I 100% agree with you. That is one of the richest ways to build generational wealth is to have something that doesn't essentially decrease in value so dramatically over time. If anything, the places, especially the place where I live right now, if we wanted to buy a home and build a home here, I mean, yes, it's not an extremely desirable tourist attraction. We're 20 minutes away from nice wineries. We're 20 minutes away, if that, from a really large casino that's popular.
Mm-hmm.
And the home value is just going up because there's more being built over here. It's more desirable. So if anything, that would only go up over here. So yes, those are things that we're looking into.
So
It's just
you still
so
have,
hard to afford and so far out of reach sometimes.
so say that again. I'm sorry. What?
Oh, absolutely. I said sometimes those things, they're huge desires, but they feel so out of reach.
Okay. That has definitely been something I've heard among like other Gen Z interviews is that
Mhm.
you still have like the fundamental belief that real estate, buying a home, builds generational wealth, but it feels really out of reach right now. And not just because you live in San Diego,
Yeah,
right? Because it's all relative. Like people that live in California make more because of the higher cost of living.
sure.
And so, people in
It
the
all balances itself
suburbs of
out.
the Midwest, right? Like they don't make as much. And so it's all relative. But that's interesting because I think that is a really important note in terms of like mindset and like how do mortgage folks and how do lenders and home builders like how do they talk to you and your friends that give some clarity around it can be within reach by doing these things by focusing on things.
I think
um
you're taking a step in the right direction, Lindsay, because no one's asking. No one's asking what we want, what information we need to be able to make those decisions, to actually swipe the credit card or actually confirm and say, let's do it. No one is currently asking us or giving us the knowledge or wanting to understand. Actually, I can't say giving us knowledge, right? Because everyone's giving knowledge, but I
Yeah.
don't feel that they're reaching the audience in the right way or putting the content out there that is simplistic enough, is giving the information that we're looking for, which is how do we get there? What are the steps? Like there is
Yeah.
no class in school for this, right? Like, and unless you, a goal of yours from day one, like you don't do the research. You just hope that one day you've got enough money and you can build a house, buy a house, whatever that looks like, and then you do
Yeah.
research. So it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that no one's currently, other than you, trying to educate us on like what those steps look like
Well,
and
you
almost
just
like an
nailed it.
alphabet's guide.
I think you totally nailed it. And because by saying, yeah, you just think you do the research ahead of time to make sure that you're totally set up for success to buy a home. You're like,
Right.
okay, I'm ready to buy a home. And then you do all the research. And then by then you realize that you're actually not set up
Right.
for
You're not
success because
qualified, or you have to wait X amount of years because you didn't have enough work experience, or you need a cosign, or whatever that looks like. I wish people were more educated on what it looks like to be pre-qualified, because there
Mhm.
is so much knowledge and wealth, I think, to be learned from what a pre-qualification looks like and where you're at in that process.
Do you think, like Randa, for example, she's focusing on educating,
Mhm.
not just Gen Z, but everybody
Yeah.
about the home buying process. Um, do you have like a preference of, only focusing, or I'm sorry, only like talking to your friends or researching your friends, like other Gen Z mortgage folks, or like, do you know what I mean? Or would you,
I
if it
do.
was,
I know
if there
what you
was like a
mean.
boomer saying, talking to the screen, being like, here are the five first things you need to do. Like, it's just that that's not where that's like not the account that you're
Typically not the account I'm following. Um,
following. Yeah.
However, it depends on their level of credibility. For me, it's all about credibility. And are you an expert in your industry? And
Yeah.
it's a values thing too. Do your values align with mine? Are you looking for something totally different? Um,
And what would you say are your three like top values? Like that you'd want a brand to also have?
yeah, trust and loyalty. And I think a lot of that comes with just the ability to communicate really well and thoroughly. Because I think that one of the things that I've heard the most from people that are buying houses is that half the time they are 0% in the know about what is going on with their home, what's going on with the process of, their mortgage, and
Mm-hmm.
where they're at with everything. And so I think that's one thing that I would really, really want to in with a partner and make sure that we were on the same page with, is just constant communication. I'm spending
Mm-hmm.
so much money on a home. Like I
Yeah.
really want to know what the heck's going on.
Right.
I think the second two would be just actually doing what you say you're going to do, actually following through.
Yeah.
That's huge. And the third one would be, God, they can be so many things, but what is the third most valuable thing to me?
Yeah. Like reliability.
Yeah,
Like when you said
probably
following through,
reliability.
well, that's
Absolutely.
reliability, right?
Absolutely.
And
And
credibility.
I also just want someone who really just wants to hear what I have to say.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of times you can be put in kind of a cookie cutter box with building a home. And a lot of people have different desires and needs or buying a home. So it doesn't have to necessarily be just building, right? Buying a home. Like we've also looked at many different houses, and just, I guess what I'm trying to say is when you first start out, you don't always know what you want. So having someone who is knowledgeable enough, knows your area you're looking in really well, or are wanting to build in really well, better than me, because there's places that I've never lived, Texas being one of them. Noah hasn't lived there in 7 years, 6 years, 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
so it's changed a lot, especially the Dallas Fort Worth area. So just having someone who can really tell us, okay, what are the good school districts? Is there good sports teams around here? What's the crime rate? Is there
Yeah.
good places to go hang out? Can we go grab brunch somewhere? Can I walk, take my dog out? Like all of the things. So just having someone, I guess, who cares enough to really dig into like who we are as people and make sure that it's the right decision. And there's a girl that I know through another, side business venture that I did. Her name's Nicola,
Uh-huh.
and her husband just started real estate out in Middle Tennessee. And basically that's what she's doing, is just helping people educate and really understand like what they want. Do you
Yeah.
want to be close to land where you can have a farm of your own in 6 years? Do you want to be in a nice neighborhood that's gated, that has like 6 parks and
Yep.
swimming pools? Like what is it? So it's really having someone who can not just be I guess a realtor, but like also almost be a friend in a sense, to understand like what my family needs and wants.
I love that, Kaylee. I love that. Because that's a lot, honestly, that's a lot of like marketing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of marketing, but like,
Yeah.
that's what kind of the reason why I asked that question is like, would you trust a Gen Z person more, like an influencer more, who was essentially like an ambassador for the neighborhood? Hey, here's where the dog parks are. Here's where
Mhm.
the local shops are. They have a ton of block parties. It's good schools. I can vouch for that, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like a lot of
Yeah.
that's marketing. And I think now that Gen Z is coming into like the market and in the next few years, going to buy a home and they're starting to research it now, like what can home builders do right now to really talk to you and make you feel like they understand you, like they want to know exactly what you want, you know,
Those are
because
the
I
things.
think a lot of people do that. I
Yeah,
think
we
there's,
want to know
like I
like the
said,
restaurants and the communities. And
yeah,
I mean, there's the thing that I love and look forward to out here every single first Friday and last Friday of the month. And it's called Foodie Fridays out here. I love it. It's a bunch of food trucks and a ton of local small businesses that come together for like this like farmers market almost event
yeah,
where they've
yeah.
got live music, the kids dance in the field. There's like, food trucks outlining the entire venue. You've got like a mini axe throwing truck,
I love
face
that.
painting. Like it is so cute and fun. And I
Yeah.
look forward to it every month because I get my candles. We get a new like sweet treat. Actually, we supported one of the small cookie vendors, and she did all those like cute little cookies at our wedding. So we've
Oh,
met a lot of really amazing people through it, and it's so huge to me. It's just to understand the community that we're in. Like we've only been here for a year, 2 years, but
yeah.
I mean, it makes a world of a difference to actually feel involved and feel like you can learn about that information. And it's great because I found out about it through marketing. It was a flyer, it was an Instagram account that just
Yeah.
constantly posted over and over again. And I was appealed by vendor things.
Yeah.
But they answered a need.